What's up, everybody? Chris Stayte back at it again with yet another YouTube series on development. This time, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use APIs and how to build applications using React. Go ahead and cue the new intro. All right, hey everybody. Up here on my screen, I have the application we're going to be building during this tutorial in this series called Fun with APIs. We're going to be building kind of a Pokedex. I'm going to put a disclaimer on the screen right now, also in the description of this video, saying that I do not own anything. Whatever company is, I don't know, whatever Pokemon, Nintendo, whoever owns it, they have full rights to these images, to this information, to this franchise. I am purely using this for educational purposes, and I'm saying this so I don't get sued, hopefully, or my channel doesn't get shut down. But today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to build this application. As you guys can see, it does have most likely all of the Pokemon. I'll show you guys why I'm saying that here in a bit. And you actually are able to click on the Pokemon. Let's click on, let's find one I can pronounce, but Crobat here. And when you click on them, it will download the information and display that for your users. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So let's go ahead and jump into the first part, and that's actually setting up a project in React on our computer. So I'll go ahead and cut to the next part. Okay, guys, I got my browser opened up. Now, I do want to preface this by saying before we actually use React, you guys actually do need to have Node installed. It's a very simple install. You guys can actually I'll just show you. Install Node, if I can spell it right, but just click on that first link, and you guys can actually see there's an LTS and a current. I usually just stick with the LTS. It works the best. If you guys are using on Mac here and you're using Brew, you can actually just install Node using Brew. Let's just go to Homebrew, and there's actually a command. You just type in brew install, and then type in Node, and that will install the latest version of Node for you. If you're on Windows, you can use Chocolatey, and that will install Node. There's lots of ways to install Node, but afterwards, you guys are going to have to install what we're going to be using is something called the Create React app. So I'm going to show you guys that real quick. Create React app. I do a lot of just searching on Google, and it shows you what you need to do, but I'm going to click on this first link. Now, what this is that React actually, to build a full-fledged application, requires a lot of back-end knowledge of how to set up things like Babel and Webpack and setting things up like that. I find it easier just to go ahead and use this. It's created by the same team that creates React. They actually use this for all their projects. And what it is it kind of sets all that stuff in the background up for you so you can actually focus on developing. You can exit this, you're kind of, when you use this, you're kind of subscribing to using the way they use it. You can exit it at any time, but I actually recommend just sticking with it because it doesn't remove any ability from you from working and getting things done. And if anything, when they upgrade React and they add features, things like the recent release of React using TypeScript, you can easily upgrade to that, no problem at all. So I'm going to scroll down here to the README, and you can see it's pretty simple. They show you how to do everything here. The one thing I have not seen in this document is how to install this, but it's super simple. So I'm going to open up Terminal here. And because I'm recording on a new screen, it's a little bit bigger. I'll be zooming in on the windows that I'm on just to show you guys, make it more legible for you. But on here, you can test if you had npm installed. I'm going to type in npm list. What is npm real quick? npm is what comes with Node. It's called the Node Package Manager. Essentially, it's kind of redundant for everyone to have to write code over and over again. And so what you can do is saying, hey, I wrote some code that does this one thing and this one thing really well. I'm going to post that as something called a package on the npm marketplace. It's free, but people can go out there and install it, and they can use your code. And it's kind of like a big sharing repository. And actually, you can actually install Create React app through this. So the first thing I'm going to do just to make sure it's installed is type in npm list, actually npm-g list. And what this is going to show me is all the packages installed on my machine globally. I'm going to type in, well, I'll show you a little trick, npm-g -depth equals 0 list. And this is actually a flag. So the G flag says, hey, we're only gonna search globally because there's actually a spot where it installs libraries globally. And then the dash dash depth equals 0 is it's not going to go into these. It's just going to show you the top level. So you can see here I have create React app already installed, which I'll show you guys how to do. I have something else called Firebase Tools, and then npm itself is also a package because it can be updated over time. So to install create React app, it's super simple. You want to type in npm-g, so you install it globally because you want to be able to use it anywhere. And you want to type in install, and then you want to type in create React app with dashes in between. And what that's going to do is npm is going to know right where to go. It's going to say, it's going to look for this, and it's going to find it and download it and install it. And you can see it actually had an update. I went from, what is that? No, I actually didn't update, but it says that it updated in 4.317 seconds. So that is installed. And to actually use it, it's super simple. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out, and I'm going to move the terminal out of the way. We'll be back at it here in a second. I'm going to clear out the terminal by holding on Mac. I think you hold Command K, or is it Command L? Yeah, Command L, there it goes. And on Windows, you can just type in CLS and hit enter, and that should close out on the command prompt. But I'm going to scroll on here, and you can create a React app. You can start this create React app 3 different ways, using npx, using npm, or yarn. I'm going to stick with the good old-fashioned npm. You guys can look into what the other ones are, but we're going to stick with this for now. So I'm going to type in npm. Actually, real quick, I'm going to change directories to my desktop. So now my terminal is on my desktop. And now I'm going to go ahead and start typing in the command. So I'm going to type in npm init, and then react-app, and then I'm going to type in the name of it, but it has to be all lowercase. You can add dashes, though. But for me, we're going to be creating a Pokedex, and so I'm just going to type in Pokedex and click enter. Go ahead and let this load. It might take a second depending on your internet connection, depending on the speed of your computer, but it shouldn't take too incredibly long. Just let it do its thing, and it gives you a nice little loading bar while it's working. I'll go ahead and cut to when this is done. All right, so you can see here it is installed. It does give you some information at the bottom. It says here you can type in npm start to start the development server, npm run build, npm test, all those kind of commands. We're going to get into that later. For right now, I guess I'm actually going to change directory into that thing. It actually creates a folder called Pokedex, and I'm going to type in code dot. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm using Visual Studio Code, and this should open up my new Create React app using this. Now, why do I have all of that code? Oh, I'm sorry. That should work. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this. I'm going to move around my window here. Give me a second. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this out for you guys so you guys can look at it. And I'm going to close out all the windows because we aren't going to actually need any of these. All right. Boom. Okay. So now that I have this, Visual Studio Code open, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of these folders and what they look like. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and close this terminal. I'm not going to need that now. If you guys have watched my tutorials before, I love Visual Studio Code, and why I love it is it does have a terminal built in. So you can see down here, if I do this, I can actually I have a full terminal right here, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to need a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the browser again. And I'm going to put this on the right-hand side of the screen. Boom. And then I'm going to put this one on the left-hand side of the screen. If you guys are wondering how I did that, I purchased a application called Magnet on the App Store. I'm not endorsed. I'm just showing you guys so you guys can check it out. And I'm actually going to go ahead and close these tabs. I'm not going to need them, and do that. Now, I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code and show you guys some of these folders. Let's see if I can increase the font a little bit more. I don't know if you guys can see this. That might be a little bit better. And I'm going to show you guys kind of how everything's laid out and what we're going to be using and why it's laid out how it is. So you guys can see right here, there's a node modules folder. And what that is that has all of the modules that we'll be using. And you can already see that there's a ton in there. And this is what React really uses to get everything set up and used and kind of working and all that. For the most part, we're never going to really go in here. As you can see here next, there's a public folder. This is where a lot of your static assets are going to be located at. along with your intro HTML file. Well, you'll kind of see how that works in the end. Go ahead and close this terminal down here. You can see here there's some standard CSS. There's our app.js. There's a lot of stuff in here. We're not going to go through it all. Most importantly, there's this package.json. You can see here it has the name of our application, what version number we're at. It starts at 0.1.0. If it's private, it's set equal to true. The dependencies, right now we're using React, React DOM, and React scripts. There are some scripts built in. It's using an ES-lint config and browser list. Now, I am using a few extensions in Visual Studio Code. I'll show you guys what those look like. There is the bracket pair colorizer, the ES7 React Redux GraphQL, and the prettier, that kind of formats your code. And a couple more that, that's the Python one, but a couple more that just allow it to make it a little bit easier to develop in React. I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this, show you guys the code. So to get this actually running, I'm gonna click on the terminal down here. You can click on these little icons and click on terminal, and I'm gonna type in npm start, and that's gonna fire off the command to React to start the server. You can see right here, it is telling me that I am currently running a React app already. That's because I have another instance of Visual Studio up, and it's saying, do you want to start it on a different port? I'm gonna type in Y for yes. So you can see right here, it's gonna load up in my browser, localhost port number 3001, and you can see there it is, guys. There's our React app. We have React installed and it is working correctly. But how do we actually start editing this? I want to show you guys real quick how cool this is and how easy this is to edit. I'm going to go ahead and go into our app.js, and I'm going to go into here and change it from edit source/app.js and save to reload to let's just erase all this and just type in, I'm going to type in my name, Chris Stayte. And I should be able to actually save this and it will change on the fly. Look at that. Boom. So now that we know we got React working, let's go into the next portion of this video where we're actually going to start editing and implementing our website. All right, so I think the first thing that we want to do is I want to start clearing out this kind of default skin styling they have and getting our own app in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is inside of app.js is I'm going to actually erase everything that is inside the header. And so I'm going to erase all that data, and all we're left with here is a blank page because there's no content. You can see up here, I'm going to remove the import of the logo. Then I'm going to go to the app.css. I'm going to get rid of all the CSS that they have in there. And then I'm going to go into the index.html. And you can see here, they actually have a lot of commenting and stuff. I'm actually just going to erase all the comments, get rid of those. It's just kind of explaining everything, and I'm going to save. And as you can see, now we have kind of an empty page, and I'm going to check to make sure we didn't break anything by kind of giving it, I'm going to give it a tag, so an H1 tag, and I'm going to type in my name again. And the only thing that should pop up on this web page after I save is my name. Yep, so you can see it works. Now, before we start adding content, I want to start adding some third-party libraries that we're going to be using. A couple, and I think a lot of you guys have seen this before or maybe have heard of it, is called Bootstrap. And you can actually install this using npm. So I'm going to type in npm install Bootstrap. And this should install the latest version of Bootstrap in our package. You can give it some time. The reason why we're using this, and while that's kind of loading, I'll open up the Bootstrap website. You can see here the newest version as of this video is version 4.1.3. This is a really awesome thing, Twitter designed, and it actually allows you to, it gives you styled components and a little bit of JS, so you can build out your website without having to worry about all the styling and stuff on your own. It's really great for simple websites, especially like documentation websites for startups and stuff to kind of get a website started. And you'd be surprised how many thousands of developers and companies actually use Bootstrap for their website. Twitter itself uses Bootstrap for its website. And it's super easy to use. It works on a grid system. You're able to space things out. It has awesome components. Really, really good documentation. I'll show you guys some of these components. They have some really cool like alerts. We're going to be using things like cards and stuff, so we can have cool looking components in our web application. So now that we've got that kind of working and stuff, I'm going to go back to our site thing here, and I saved this with it. Did I erase it? There we go. It does have Bootstrap installed. Another thing that we're going to need, and I don't know if we're going to need it right now, but but we will use it eventually, is we're going to type in npm install styled components. What is styled components? It allows us to write the styling or the CSS of our components directly in the JavaScript file. Now, this is a little bit different than a traditional developing environment where you do a lot of HTML and CSS. You are still doing all the same HTML and CSS, but you're doing it inside of your JavaScript files using something called JSX. Now, you aren't required to learn JSX, you aren't required to know JSX, and it's not really a kind of a hurdle to jump over. It's really just embedding your HTML inside of your JavaScript. And you can see that right here in our main app component. So our top component, the thing that encompasses our entire web app, is a component called app. And it renders one thing, and it's going to return a div. And that div will have a class name of app, and it'll have inside of that a header that has my name. Now you can see here that it's, instead of class, which is what you guys typically put as a tag in HTML, it's now class name. It's all the same. It's just now it's, instead of class, you type in class name. That's kind of a dependency of React that you're going to use. Now that we have that styled components installed and Bootstrap installed, I want to actually start working on our first component, and it's going to be really awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that web browser, or that tab. And I'm going to go over here, and on our source folder, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this components. And after I've created that, I'm going to create another folder inside there, and I'm going to call this layout. Now I like to organize all of my components into the components folder. That way it's very easy for me to find and navigate and understand where everything's at. Once I get inside of layout, I'm actually going to create a new JavaScript file called navbar.js. And you can see all this is a plain JavaScript file. And what we're going to start doing is we're actually going to create a React component. And if you have the extension installed, the ES7 React, you can go ahead and use this new feature they have, or kind of shortcut, and you can type in RCC tab. And that does a lot of stuff for you there. But what it's actually going to do is it just kind of types in a lot of boilerplate for you. And it installs, it puts in here what we're going to be importing. So we're importing the React components and the components of React. And we're creating this. Now, for this right now, this is fine. This is all we really need to do. And what I'm going to do to see if this works is I'm actually going to create, I'm going to put this H1 in here. And this time I'll put my name here. I'm going to save that. Now over here in our app.js, I'm going to remove the H1 that we had before, and I'm going to import that. So I'm going to say import navbar, and then I'm going to say from, and I'm going to type in ./components/layout/navbar. Now, typically you might have to type in .js. Node is smart enough to know that you're looking for a JavaScript file, and then that's going to work. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a tag. I'm going to type in navbar, and I'm going to do that and click save. And you can see that right off the bat that it's already loaded the same exact web page as we had before, but it's actually routing it through the navbar component. So now let's actually build our navbar. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to build our navbar in Bootstrap. So I'm going to go to Bootstrap's website, Bootstrap navbar. And you can see here, I'm going to click on it and look at the documentation. This is how I build every website I do. I just go there, I look at the documentation. And honestly, almost every time I have to go look at documentation. So don't feel bad or feel like you're not learning or feel like you're not advancing if you haven't got past that documentation point. Because honestly, unless you go back and look at that documentation, there could be changes, there could be additions of features and stuff, and it's really good to be up to date on that documentation. And I don't sit here and read all this. I really just scroll down and I'm like, oh, this looks good, and I kind of take it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a nav. And so inside of here, I'm going to go to the navbar.js, and I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to create a tag. Now, we can use that ES7 extension, or you can type it out by hand, but I'm going to type in nav. Can I do that? Or is it, how do I do that? Let's try this test. No, that doesn't work. All right, let's just do this. I'll just do it by hand for the first one. Nav, and then we're going to type in class name, if you guys remember from before. And we're going to use navbar space navbar dash expand dash MD, and then navbar dash dark BG dash dark and fixed top. And what that's going to do is that should create us a navbar at the top. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a inside of that navbar, we're going to add an A tag. So I'm going to type in an A tag. And inside there, I'm going to put our logo and our title. For right now, we're going to put Pokedex. And let's just click save and see what that does. We'll go back to the React app. And you can see here, we have our navbar. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. We're not getting any styling. I was wondering why we're not getting any styling. We haven't imported Bootstrap. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go back up to our, I think it's in our HTML. Yeah, I think we go to our HTML. So we want to go to our index.html. And inside here, we actually want to, I'm sorry. Let's go back to our app.js. I apologize. We're going to go to our app.js, and we're actually going to want to install Bootstrap through here. So it's super simple to do. We're going to, actually because, and I'll explain this in a second, but we want to type in import Bootstrap / which means distributable, which is where they're distributing that, CSS / bootstrap.min.css. And what that's going to do is that's going to import the Bootstrap CSS automatically. Now, I did put that above our CSS file because this is a cascading style sheet, so we're able to override Bootstrap using our own CSS, and we might do that in the future. But for now, we're just going to import Bootstrap, and you can see that we do have the navbar up there, and it's styled a little bit. So I'm going to close out of all this other stuff, go back to our navbar.js. And I'm going to minimize this a little bit. There we go. And the next thing that we're going to work on, and I really want to finish the navbar in this portion of the video, but we're going to work on adding some style to our navbar. I think that would be great. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import our styled components. So we're going to say import styled from styled components. And I'm going to click save, and that does all the formatting. And right below, I'm going to type in, we're going to create a const. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, how do I want to do this? Yeah, let's do this for now. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to type in const navbar style. And I'm going to do styled.nav. And this is saying that we're going to need nav. Now I'm going to use the tick, like the tick key. It's above your tab key, left of the number 1 on your number row. You just kind of tap that and it gives you a tick, and it gives you 2 of them. And inside of there, I'm going to try changing the background. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from this for right now. Let's actually just do it right here in the nav bar. So I'm gonna type in style and type in equals. And we're going to do it right here. And actually, you're going to pass it an object. So you're going to give it this. Now, these first brackets are going to say, hey, HTML, I'm going to be passing you. It kind of breaks it away and allows you to insert JavaScript. And then what it's expecting is it's expecting a JavaScript object. So you can see right there, I've entered this mode where I'm saying, hey, JSX, I'm going to allow me to write JavaScript in line with the HTML. And then I'm going to give you an object. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a background color. So I'm going to change the background color of this. And instead of typing in background dash color, you have to actually type in background, remove the dash, and camel case it. And then I'm going to type in hashtag, and then our color is going to be EF5350. And then I'm going to save. And you can see actually right off the bat, it does not override it. And I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to right click on this and click inspect, pull up the Chrome tools, and you can see on the right hand side, I've clicked on nav. On the right hand side, it does see that we've given it a background color, but it's been overridden. And you can see why, because this BG-dark actually has an important tag. So if we want to overwrite that, the best way I figured out is to just write important next to it. Did I spell that important? Important. I don't know why that is important. Let's see if I can empty cache and hard reload. Now it does not seem to find it. background color, important. I need to make sure I spelled that right. I don't want to be. Yeah, I have spelled that right. Why is that not working? Let's see. The nav bar has that. Element S style. That's all working right. Maybe let me try pasting it all in again. Oh. Let's see. Background color. That's correct. I don't know why that's not working. It should be pulling in that color. So if I erase this important, it does find it. And then when I add the important, is there an extra space in there or something I'm adding? All right. Well, give me a second. No, I want to solve this for you guys because it should not be doing that. I don't know why. I don't know why it would be pulling that in like that. Let's see. I have some notes on the side here of what I'm doing. I know why. Let's do it this way. Let's just go to our app.css and kind of type it in that way. So we're gonna grab all the nav bars. Now you only have one on your website, and we're gonna do background color, and then EF 55350, and then we're gonna type in important. Like that. Let's see if that overrides. Okay, that overrides it. So I don't even know if we need to keep. I don't think we need to keep this in there for right now. So let's just erase that. Boom. All right. So the reason I'm going to figure out why that didn't do that, but what we did was essentially we went into our app.css, which is given, and it loads afterwards, and it loads that in like that. I'll go ahead and open this up real quick. All right. So you can see that worked pretty well. Now I'm wondering why we are not getting a white text up here. I want that to be white. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our navbar.js, and we're going to look at some of this code real quick. So we have navbar. We have navbar dash expanded. Is it expand? Yeah, expand and the navbar dash dark, background dash dark, and fixed top. All that seems fine. I think we should be fine for now. I'll come back and fix that if need be. I don't know why that's not giving us a white background. Navbar dash dark, G dash dark, fixed top. All right. We will come back and change that. Oh, I think I know why. No. That's not why. Okay. We'll come back and fix that. But you can see now we have our navbar loaded. It does load. You can refresh the page. There's our navbar. That does have that on there. So in the next section of this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to, we're going to start getting some content in here and start working with an API. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and we'll go to our next section. All right, guys, I'm back at it here. I'm going to show you guys real quick before we get into this content on the page. I'm actually going to start, I'm going to fix this header right here. I don't like how this is black, and I figured it out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to be giving this A tag some classes from Bootstrap. Again, to use a class, you can't just type in class, you have to type in class name. And we're going to use navbar brand, and then column small 3, and then column medium 2, and then margin right 0 to kind of push everything, or to take everything on the right, and keep it tight and snug. And then I'm going to put in a line items center. And this is all just styling, really, that a lot. See, it got bigger. It's really just styling to kind of let it look good. Now, you notice that this is still black. I want it to be white. I want it to be against that, like, quote-unquote, back background. And I've actually figured out that you need to give it a link, right? Like this, an href. And then for some reason that takes that and fixes it. I don't know why. If we actually inspect the page, and let's click on this. So you can see here the color is white, but if I were to remove this href, I'm going to remove it and save. You can see for some reason it gives it a weird attribute right here. It doesn't allow the white, and it inherits from what's below. I'm not sure why it does that, but it does. So I'm going to go ahead and save, and now we have our nav bar. So I just want to go ahead and show you guys that before we got into the adding the content. So our next step here is I want to start actually adding in some components for the Pokemon. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create inside of our components folder. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this new folder, and I'm going to call this Pokemon. And this is where we're going to save all of our components that deal with Pokemon. And the first thing I want to do is I actually want to create a list. Because what I want to do, as I showed you guys in the example at the beginning of the video, is I want the user to be able to scroll through a list of Pokemon. So what I'm going to do is create a new file right here, and I'm going to name this Pokemon list.js. And it's going to be a real simple piece of code, nothing crazy. And I'm going to type in RCC tab. Again, that's just kind of filling in some boilerplate code. There's an extension that does that for me, the ES7 React extension in Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna go ahead and start working with this. And what we're gonna need here is, let's think. Let's kind of build it out real quick. Let's think about this. So I want to have a list of Pokemon, and I want to kind of put them all down. And so the first thing I'm gonna have to do is, as you guys can remember, we have little cards. So actually, let's go ahead and create a new file, and we're gonna call this Pokemon card.js, and that's going to be a component that sits within this component. And how we're gonna lay that out is I'm going to type in RCC tab again. That's the Pokemon card, and then now we just kind of have to build that card. And so let's think about so let's do like this. Let's go ahead and change this into a card. So let's do this. All right, let's do a class name, and we're going to set that equal to column medium 3, column small 6, and then margin border 5. Yeah, that'll be fine. All right, so the reason why I'm doing that is each card is going to span with this column medium 3 at a medium page. It's going to span 3 blocks, and if you've ever used Bootstrap before, you would know that Bootstrap is broken into 12 columns, and so that means we should have 4 cards across the page. And then if the browser window, or if they're on mobile or something, goes to a small, they will then change to take up 6 blocks, which would be half. So you should only have 2 cards. That way things don't get squished and whatnot. And what we're going to need here is, we need to test if this works real fast. So I'm just going to kind of put some boilerplate code in here. But let's go ahead and create the card. So I'm going to do this and type in card. And then inside there, I'm going to type in card header. And I'm just going to kind of put, I'm going to put an H1 tag in there and just put my name. And that should be good. And then inside this Pokemon list file, Pokemon list.js, I'm going to go ahead and close the navbar.js. We shouldn't need that right now. Inside here, I'm going to go back to the Pokemon list, and we're going to import it. So we actually have to import our component. So I'm going to say import Pokemon card from /Pokemon card. And then all we're going to do is we're going to bring this down, and we're going to load a Pokemon card. So we're going to say Pokemon card, just like a component in HTML. And then we actually need to bring the Pokemon list onto our main page, and we don't really have anything down here. So let's go ahead and create that. I'm going to add that as a layout component. So I'm going to go to my layout. I'm going to create a new file called dashboard.js, and inside dashboard, I'm going to put a RCC tab. Inside dashboard, I'm going to put the Pokemon list. So I need to import it. So import Pokemon list from, and then we got to go up 2 folders, and then go to Pokemon, and then Pokemon list. And then I'm going to down here, just go ahead and, I need to actually create a row. So I'm going to put class name equals row. And then I'm just going to create 1 column for all this. So like that. And inside there, I'm going to put the Pokemon list. and hopefully that works okay. So that's working. So we have the dashboard. Oh, and then we actually need to add the dashboard to the app.js because that dashboard does not exist yet. So I'm going to go back up to app.js, go into here, and right below it, I'm just going to add a container. So container. I didn't spell that right, did I? There we go. And then inside there, I'm just going to put the dashboard. And then actually, that's pretty cool. It can, Visual Studio Code will detect that you want to pull from that component, and it actually imports it and did all that work for me. I'll click save, and you can see there is a card right here. Now, if I were to turn off the nav bar, or to kind of remove that nav bar, I'm going to pull it out for a second. You'll see that it does work, but because that nav bar is fixed to the top of the page, there is going to be that difficulty where you're not actually going to see it. So let's go ahead and fix that first before we move on. I'm going to go to our app.css, and before the nav bar and all that, I'm going to put something up here, and we're going to do some global classes .app, and we're going to do padding top is equal to 4 rem, just a unit of measurement, and you can see that kind of pushed it down, and now it's below it. So everything will be 4 rem underneath the top of the app, which the app does encompass the entire content right now. And then I kind of want to set a minimum height for the app. And so the minimum height, and we're going to put 100 of the view height. And if I save that, you can see that now the app does take the entire page, which is important because we want it to span that entire page. And then I think we're good with that. So you can see we have a card. I'm going to close out of the app.css. I'm going to close out of the app.js. And I'm going to go back to the Pokemon list. And I don't need the dashboard right now. And I'm actually going to copy and paste this card a couple of times so I can kind of show you guys what it'll look like. So you see right now it's kind of spanning down, right? And we want it to go across the page. So we're going to go ahead and fix that real quick. I'm thinking I might have typed it in wrong. Column medium 3, column small 6. That's correct. Let's make sure that the Pokemon list doesn't have anything in there. Oh yeah. So the Pokemon list actually needs to be a row. And so I'm going to class name equals row. And so that way, you have to put columns inside of rows, and so that way this will go into rows. So now you can see that's how that works. But how do we get our Pokemon in here? How do we bring those names and whatnot in here? Well, I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do that, and we're going to need to go to Google and type in Poke API. And you can see right here that it opens up the pokeapi.co website, and this is basically an API that allows us to get Pokemon information, and it's really, really awesome and free and great. And with this, we're going to actually get another piece of software. If you guys don't have it already, go ahead and download Postman. It's also free. It's awesome to use. It actually allows you to prototype and look at API calls. I'm going to go ahead and open it up because I already have it. All right, so you can see Postman's open here, and I actually already have some of my requests made, so I'm going to close out of them. I don't need to save these. And you can see, I'm going to actually pull this on the left-hand side of my screen here, and then I'm going to go back to the Poke API website. And you can see they say that when you request this URL, https://pokeapi.co/API/v2, and then /Pokemon/Ditto, and you submit it, you get all this information. But I was wondering what happens if we just take away Ditto and request Pokemon. And you can see it actually sends you a huge JSON file, and it actually has all the information in there for you. So I went ahead and copied this URL over here into Postman, and I'm going to click send, and it returns back this giant list of Pokemon, which is exactly what I want, because as you can see, it has the name here. And then it also has the URL, which if I were to click on this, so the first one's Bulbasaur. If I click on this and make a request, so Pokemon/1, 1 represents that Pokemon's ID. It does return back a lot of its information right here, and it has URLs within requests. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do here. So I'm gonna bring this back Postman to the right, and then I'm actually going to start working in this Pokemon list. And so we want to get that list of Pokemon. So I'm going to up here in the state, and if you guys have never worked with React before, which I'm assuming that's why I'm making this video, the state. Let me talk about it real quick, because in React there's two things with components. So there's state and there's props. And what is the difference between the two? And so I typically, if I ever forget, I kind of go online and read an article. But long story short, the state of a component is something that is set, and when changed, most of the time is about UI changes, right? And properties are going to be are simple things that can be passed to the component or taken from the component very nicely. And state is really used to do a lot of UI changes as far as I've been using it for. So I'm going to actually save something in the state. And the state is always an object, which looks like this. And we're going to save a URL inside there. And it's going to be the pokeapi.co/API/v2/Pokemon. And Pokemon, there we go. And this is going to be the URL that we're going to call to actually get the Pokemon. And then I'm going to create an object called Pokemon and set it equal to null. And what that's going to be is this is going to be where it saves that file, or that JSON. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to create, there's some default functions that are within components inside of React. One is called component did mount. And this is called whenever the component has initialized all of its variables, more importantly the state, and it has been mounted to the UI. So that means it's visible to the user if you have that shown. So in here, I'm we're gonna actually start getting a request, and we're gonna use a library. Let's see, I can't remember if I imported it. I have not. So I'm gonna open up terminal here, open a new one, and I'm gonna say npm install Axios. And this Axios is a JavaScript library that is used to make requests. It makes it a little bit easier instead of using the default JavaScript one. This is just the one I prefer. You don't have to use it. So that is installed. And I'm going to close out of that. And I'm actually going to import it now. So I'm going to say import Axios from Axios. There we go. And you can see that's imported, and then now we can make our request. So I can say right here, constant response, because a request and will give you a response. Axios.get and this.state.url. And so I do have to call this because I'm referencing myself. And then I'm going to say this.setState. Now you have to pass it an object, Pokemon, and then I'm going to do res.data. And then I'm going to look for the results. And actually, I think can we do that? Or no? No. So the data is the data over here on the right. Let me open up this. The data would be this whole JavaScript. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pass it the results array like that. And then we'll have that. Now, why am I using, how come if I'm passing this object, do I not need to pass this URL? Because want to overwrite that? No. So what this is doing is the set state is updating state. So if there isn't a token in there or a key that is already used, it'll create it. And if it has been used, it'll overwrite it. But also, why am I using set state? Why am I not just saying this.state? Well, because this.setState will actually rerun this render function. And that's where we're actually powerful. You can change the state, and let's say you just changed one thing. It'll only re-render the single parts that have changed. That way your whole page doesn't flash or reload, which is really nice. I know this can get kind of confusing and stuff. So if you get stuck, just kind of follow along, take some breaks, kind of look over the code over and over again, break it, mess around with it. But it'll come to you eventually. It did take me a little bit to kind of get used to this way. Now there is one thing I want to do, which is new in JavaScript, and I actually want to make this an async function. sync, like that. Now, what is that telling me? This will actually this used to go with, like, if you're familiar with traditional programming, you're traditional with threading and putting things in the background to kind of load, and that's where this we're going to kind of use this to leverage it our way. Now there's something called a sync and a wait. So async means that this will actually run in the background and other things can work while this is running, and then it'll return it when it gets back. But why I'm doing this is because I don't want to change this and have this changed and not have any data. Because if we run this get, we're not sure how long it's going to take to go get that data. And then if we automatically change Pokemon, it'll try loading cards that don't exist. So what I'd rather do is put this on an await. So that way it says, all right, we're going to run this method, but then when we get here, we're going to wait until this request is done, and then we're going to set the state. That way it can load all the cards at once. That way it's a nice, quick process. But then how do we get that down here? How do we bring that in? Well, it's actually pretty simple. So I'm going to erase all the Pokemon cards, and what's really awesome about React is you can access JavaScript right within the HTML block. And you do that by adding curly braces. So we're going to add these curly braces, and we're going to say this.state.pokemon, and then we're going to say .map. Now, map is a JavaScript function. It's pretty simple to understand, but it basically allows you to take out a single Pokemon, single object out of an array or a list, right? And take that and work with that. So I'm going to do this, and how do I think I just do it like that. Yeah. And we're going to pass it a Pokemon card. And so right now, if I were to save and run this, let's go up here. Oh, it's saying that it broke. Div row. What's broken here? Let's see. Pokemon card, it's saying cannot read map of null. This dot state dot Pokemon dot map. Okay. I see what's going on here. So what we want to do is we first want to check if that even exists. So we're going to say this.state.pokemon, and we're going to put a question mark, and that's a ternary operator. It's just kind of like an if and else. And we're going to put one right here, and then you put 2 dots and put one right there. And so we're going to say if state is existing, then we're going to pass it this one right here. And if it doesn't, we're going to pass it an H1, and we're going to say loading Pokemon. But then it's going to actually say there's 2 of them, so let's go ahead. This is a reserve core. We need to put this inside of a bracket. Sorry. Div. Let's bring this out. There. So I put, okay. Let me explain to you what I did. So I put every render has to return one object, like one kind of HTML thing. So I put everything inside of a div, and actually that's kind of counterproductive. Let's actually do this. Let's do react.fragment. And what this is sometimes you don't want to keep burying your content within divs just to kind of get that one. React.fragment tells React, hey, this is kind of like a div, but when we go to load it, just remove it and give me whatever you're handing me, right? Whatever's in the next set. You can see here that you have a 2-component kind of breakdown. So we're saying if this.state.pokemon, and that's actually checking if it's null or not. If it's not null, it returns this. If it is null, it returns this. Now you can see that, and I'm not really sure why it's returning null still, because this should have been called, but let's take a look and kind of see what's going on here. pokeapi.co/API/Pokemon. This is being called. This.setState Pokemon is being set res.data.results. And that all seems to be working. Oh, right here, Pokemon. That's because I spelled it wrong. I always spell Pokemon wrong. Right there, boom. All right, so that kind of gave us the effect we were looking for. Now, this does give us like a couple hundred Pokemon. And that's why earlier I was talking about, I'm not sure if all of them are there, because I have personally not gone through and validated that all of these are true to what they are inside the Pokemon universe. But I assume because this is a pretty extensive API, it's going to be pretty correct. Now you can see it just has my name flowing forever. But how do we actually get this into a usable format and start putting Pokemon names in there? So what we want to do is we want to go into the Pokemon card, and we want to start working with that. Now, I told you guys earlier that there's an ability to pull out properties. And so what we're going to do to get properties done is we're going to go ahead and start, we're going to start working with properties. But before that, let's go ahead and add it to the list. We do get the results, which gives us, let's see, it gives us that, yeah, but we can also work with the name. So let's go ahead and I got to think how I want to do this. I don't want to make it too confusing. No, I think we're good. Yeah, let's go ahead and work with the cards and the properties. So we're going to go into the single Pokemon card, and I'm going to erase my name. And what we're going to do is this Pokemon card, which represents a single Pokemon, is going to have a state as well. And inside that state, we're going to have the name. For now, it's just going to be empty. And we're going to get an image URL, which is the URL that represents the image for the Pokemon, because we want to show that to the user. We want to pull in the Pokemon index, which is like the unique number that represents that Pokemon. That's used if you're like catching them. You can look them up by index. And I think that'll be fine for now. So the first thing we want to do is we want to actually pull out some properties. Now we don't have properties yet, but I'm going to act like we do and just type them in. And so we're going to say constant, and then we're going to say name equals this dot props dot name. And then we're going to say constant URL equals this dot props dot URL. Now it's pulling these in from properties. So if we go back to the card and you can see Pokemon card, I'm going to hit enter here. And we're going to pass the properties just like we would any other type of thing. So we're going to say name equals, and then we're right here, we're going to say Pokemon. Remember, because we have this inside the map, Pokemon.name. And you know that you have that by going to Postman, and you can see that every Pokemon inside the results has a name and a URL. So we're going to pass it the name, and then we're going to give it a URL, and we're going to say Pokemon.url. Now there is another thing that we do have to add, and everything has to have a unique ID, and so we're going to actually say key, or a unique key there. And because in this instance every Pokemon is going to have a unique name, we're just going to use the name as the key. If you don't give that to React, or to the component, it's gonna throw an error. And so you can see, let's remove this real quick and I'll show you. If you go to the console here, it's gonna say each child in an array or iterator should have a unique key property. And so if we go back in there and we add it like that error does go away because we are passing it a key. And that's where if later on you're looking to delete things, it can do it on a much more efficient basis. So I'm going to go back into the Pokemon card, and we should have the name and URL. And let's test the name. We can do that by saying name like this. Boom. And now, look at that. We have their names for all of them. Now I'm going to show you guys a cool trick that I learned to pull out these information. Instead of doing them all individually, we can do them all at once by just taking them out of props. And you can grab things by putting them in brackets like this and say name and URL. And that will give you access and work exactly the same as before. Now that we have the name, let's start working on fleshing out these cards and making them look good. I'm going to go ahead and cut, and then when I get back, we'll start working on that. All right, guys, I'm back. I got some water. I was super thirsty. You'd be surprised how dry your mouth can get talking for this long and trying to show you guys all this stuff. It's pretty cool. But let's get back into the code. So our next objective here is I want to clean up these cards, make them look nice, maybe add some styling to the page, add a background. Let's think about what we're going to do first. So what I want to do is I actually want to make these cards look a little bit better, and let's start parsing out some of this data. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to get the Pokemon index, which if you guys remember in Postman, that index is in this URL, which we were given. So let's go ahead and pull that out. So we're going to say constant Pokemon index. Actually, let's put this inside component did mount. Oh, that would be better, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's go ahead and pull this out and put it in component did mount. And so let's do component did mount and like this. And then I'm going to move this outside of here and move it up here. And then instead of pulling the name out of just a variable, let's do this dot state dot name. That way it pulls it out of the state, and you can see it's empty right now. But down here, we're going to do it. We're going to set it up. So right now, I'm going to create another constant. And the reason why I use constant or let, which is another keyword to declare variables, is deciding on whether or not you want to be able to change that. Use constant. If not, it's going to be a little bit better for you for efficiency. And also so you don't mess it up later on. So we're going to type in Pokemon index equals. And I'm going to say URL.split. And we're basically, I want to split that URL up by the forward slashes. And then I want to grab it by the end. So I need to do URL.split again. Because I want to actually get the length of that domain, sorry, that URL or array it's going to build. And I'm going to pull up the length, and then I'm going to subtract it by 2 because I don't want the last slash, I want the number before it. And if I do that, it should give us the Pokemon index. And then the image URL is, I'm actually going to be pulling these images from a GitHub repository where all these images are stored. And that's going to be https://github.com/pokeapi/sprites blob/master/sprites/Pokemon. And then we actually want to give it that index. So instead of using, I'm going to close out of this. Instead of using double quotes, I'm going to be using a tick mark. That's the key right above your tab or left of the one, because I want to actually use right here the $ and then brackets, and you can actually put a variable directly into your string, which is awesome. And after you have that, right after that, you're going to do .png, and then you're going to do question mark raw equals true. Now I know that's a lot, but that should be the URL that we're going to use to if I can spell Pokemon right. Oh my gosh. Pokemon, that should be the URL to pull all that stuff out. Now, after we've gotten all that, we actually need to come down and we need to tell Stayte that we have that. So we're going to use this .set state, and we're going to give it the name and the image URL. So name equals the name, right? And then image URL is equal to the image URL. And then we need to get the Pokemon index is equal to the Pokemon index. And if we see how this works again, we have all the names again. Now we can make this a little bit simpler. If the key is the same as the value, you can actually just erase. You can erase it, right? So watch this: boom, and boom, and boom, and it makes the code look a little bit cleaner, and it all works the same. We got no issues there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to kind of make it look nice. So instead of putting in the card header in H1, I'm actually going to put, let's think about this. What do I want to put in there? I want to put, what do I want in the card header? I definitely want to put the Pokemon index. Let's put a link at the top. Yeah, that'll be good. Let's put a link at the top because I want to make it have a kind of nice looking index. So style link Pokemon index. Yeah. So in the top, let's put the card header. Let's erase this and let's put an H5. And right here, I'm going to put this .state Pokemon index like so. And that should put the Pokemon index right there at the top. That looks good for now as a card header. Yeah, do I want that? Actually, let's erase this card header and not duplicate it, and put a random div and just put this in here. Yeah, like that. That makes it look a little bit better. Okay, and then below that card header, I actually want to put the let's put the name. Yeah, I think the name would be nice. So let's put the name down there, and where do we want to put the name at? Let's put the name as a card body. So right here. So we're going to do .card body. And then inside the card body, I'm going to put an H6. And then I want to give that a class name of card title. And then inside that, I'm going to put this .state.name. and then kind of close that off. Let's see how that looks. All right, awesome. So you can see I have this nice looking header part, and I have the name in there. Let's clean up. Let's make the name in the middle. So mx.auto. What it's going to tell the name is to set the margin to auto, so that way it can go left and right. And actually, you want to put that in the body, not in the title, because you want it to apply to the whole thing. There it goes. Now it's in the middle. But the next thing I want to do is I actually want to make this look a little bit better, because you want to kind of camel case it where that first letter there is fixed, and then eventually you might actually get the Pokemon that has like multiple names that have spaces in between. So let's go ahead. I'll show you guys how to do that. It's a simple piece of JavaScript. We're going to do that name, and then we're going to say to lowercase. So that will actually lowercase the entire string, which is backwards of what we want. But then we want to split it by a space, right? Any time where the name has a space in between. So they have two names in there. And then we're going to map over each one of those. So split will take a string and split by the space will split up every word, right? So now we have each word. And then we're going to map each word, the single string or letter. So we can say letter. And then we're going to say letter.char at, if that char is at 0, or that character, we're going to say to uppercase. Right? And that'll set that character to uppercase. And then we're going to add it to s.substring, or sorry, not s, letter.substring. And we're going to give it the rest of it. So we're going to start at 1. And then we're going to say dot join, and we're going to join it with a space and then work on the next one. So let's see. Yeah, I think that'll work how we want it. And let's go ahead. Does that look good? Map. That should be able to put on one line. Okay, one doesn't want to be on one line, but that's fine. So long story short, what we're doing here is we're splitting up the word. We're setting the word to lowercase, splitting it up by the space, going over each letter in each category. So if it's like the Weedle, it separates the and Weedle, grabs the first letter, makes it uppercase, and then joins the two words together like they were before and puts them back in there. So now we have this nice looking words. Now the next thing I want to work on is actually bringing in these images, which is going to be a little bit more work. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to actually, let's think, stylely card. Okay, so let's do this. Let's bring in the image, and I'm actually going to we're going to use, did we already import it? Let me check real quick. We're going to use styled components, which we already have. Awesome. So we're going to use styled components on this one, and I'm going to show you guys why, and this is why I love it. Import styled from styled components, like that. Boom. And we're going to create a new styled component, and we're going to call this sprite, and we're going to set this equal to styled.image. And then you have to use the tick marks like that. I'm going to erase that last one, and then inside here, we're going to say the width is equal to, let's do 5 EM, and then the height is 5 EM, because the sprites are going to be kind of like squares. And then I'm going to set the display to none, because I don't want them to be showed at first. And we'll work on that. Actually, work on that. Let's erase that for now. So let's go down here, and I want that image to show above the name. And so to get that above the name, we're actually just going to create an image request. So we're going to say image. I'm thinking, yeah. So right card title, card header, right below the card header. And we're going to create a sprite right here. Now this is just an image tag, but it's using sprite because that's our styled component. And inside there, we're going to give it a class name. And we're going to say card image top. And that's a Bootstrap class, rounded, because I like rounded corners. MX auto, because I want that to sit in the middle. And then MT2. Now the reason why I'm doing margin top 2 is so that way it doesn't go into the top. I want to have some space. And then after I've done that, I just want to set the, I'm thinking, real quick. I apologize. I want to set the source. So let's go. That's the class name. Let's set the source equal to this.state.image image URL, like that. Yeah, that's what we want. And I forgot to use the square brackets. We don't need this. We just need that. Awesome. So now it's going to load it in. And as you can see, it's actually not finding any of the Pokemon. We're getting a lot of errors here. So let's see. It's not finding them by that URL. So let's click on one of these URLs. Oh. GitHub, Poke API, Sprite. Oh, I spelled Spritz wrong. I put Spritz instead of Sprites. There we go. Let's go ahead and save. And it's still not finding them. Let's figure out why. Poke API / sprites, blob master sprites, Pokemon raw equals true. I don't know why that wouldn't be working. Let me see. Let me copy and paste in the URL I've been using. It shouldn't change anything. Oop. Too many requests. Okay. So I see what's going on here. GitHub, because we're ripping these from GitHub, it's saying that there's too many requests because we're accessing GitHub too fast, and so it's blocking it. That's what that error code is 429, which is fine. But also, you can see that poses an issue for the user. If you're not hosting these images, I want to actually show the user that we're having that issue. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and work with some error handling and figure that out. So what we're going to do here is we actually need to do two different things. So inside this image or this sprite, I want to work with a special tag, and that's going to be on load, like this. And then it's also going to be on error. And this is what you can do inside of an image tag. And on load, I'm going to run a function. And that function is going to say this.setState. And inside that, I'm going to say image loading is equal to false. Because if the image has been loading, it's no longer loading, right? And so up here, I'm going to set a piece of state, say image loading equals true. And then we're also going to worry about an error. And an error, we should probably just call it something like too many requests, right? And right now it's going to say false because we don't technically know that yet until we've started it. And so we're going to go down here and we're going to create this on error. We're going to run the same exact thing, quotes like that, and this dot set state. And then we're going to pass an object and say too many requests and set that equal to true. So if there is an error, if it returns an error code, it's going to say too many requests, right? And let's go ahead and save and run it. So you can see, wow, look at that. All of our Pokemon do load in. And let's go ahead and, if you guys, cannot remember for the life of me if I showed you this, but this React extension, it's free on the Chrome Web Store. You guys can run it. It's very easy to use, but it allows you to see into the state of objects and stuff. So we're going to click on this, click on a card. Let's just go down on the dashboard, Pokemon list. And then you can see all these Pokemon cards. And you can see the state right here. The image loading is false. Bulbasaur. The image loading is false. So it did leave that as false, and before it was true. So I'll go ahead and show you guys if I turn that on true. You can toggle these. Let's close out of that. Boom, 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 boom. It is having a hard time loading because there's just so many Pokemon. I realize that when I'm working with this much data inside Chrome, it does have a hard time loading, and that's where I need to get better with progressive loading of apps and stuff. But that will come in time as we get through these courses. You learn, I learn, we all learn, right? So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. See if I can get it to work. I might have to crash the browser. I apologize. If I do, I'll just cut it and show up again. All right, yeah, I ended up having to crash that tab. So what we're going to do here is I want to kind of show, instead of having this weird image, I want to show the users a different image. They say that it's loading, and I also want to warn them that there has been too many requests. So what we're going to do here is right below this sprite, I'm going to actually put another kind of ternary thing, and we're going to say this dot state dot too many requests. So if there's been too many requests, we are going to return one thing. If not, we're going to return nothing else, because we shouldn't need to return anything else, right? So return null. So if we're returning something, I want to return an H6. So let's do H6. And then inside the H6, I'm going to put a badge, which is through a span. So we're going to do class name equals badge, and then badge danger, because I want them to see it as like a red message, and then MT2 to kind of give it some space from the top. And then inside the H6, let's give that a class name of MX Auto, because I want it to be in the center. And inside that badge, I'm going to say too many requests, right? So now if it's been loading and there has been, right now the images are fine, but if I were to close this and reload it again, let's see if we can bottom out GitHub and see if it'll give us that error message. All right, cool. So you can see that now that I've kind of refreshed a few times, you can see that it did hit that too many requests. It did send an error. It set this inside state to true, which then activated this. And so now we have that message saying too many requests, but we still have this box, which is what I don't want. So what we're going to do here is I want to actually hide that box if it's not. And again, use the ternary. So we're going to say this dot state dot image loading. And we're going to set that equal to, if it is loading, we're going to show something, right? And if else, we're going to go ahead and pass over that sprite, or actually we're going to pass over null. Because if it's not loading, we want to show that. And that's why at first I wanted to set this equal to none, because I don't want this to show until we're ready to actually show this. And so we're going to say display equals none. And then right down here, what we're going to do inside of the sprite, let's see, inside the sprite, we're going to work with the style, right? Right in there. And it's a little bit different with React, just like everything else. You actually have to pass it an object. And we're going to say this dot set, or this dot state dot too many requests. And we're going to do the same thing. So if there has been too many requests, we're going to still leave that display as equal to none, like this, right? And then if not, if this dot state dot image is loading, so if it's still loading, we're going to just not do anything as well. So we're going to do that. But if it hasn't, then we're going to say the display is equal to block. That way it shows it, right? So, what are we getting an error down here for something? Up here. That's where we're getting an error at. We're going to go back and fill that in. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, I want to show a spinner, and it's really easy. You guys can just type in a spinner GIF on Google and download one. Try to find one that's free, obviously, unless you want to pay for it. You can download, see these are all free. I already have one. I'm going to go ahead and bring it over into my assets folder. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. All right, so I have my spinner. I'm going to go ahead and copy it into, I'll bring this over so you guys can kind of see. I'm going to go ahead and copy it into my source, components, Pokemon. I'm going to paste it right here. So it's just a spinner.gif. It just looks like that. And I'm going to show you guys how we're going to use that. It's pretty cool what you can do with React to load this up. So to get the spinner in, I'm actually going to import it like it was a library or something. So I'm going to say import. I'm going to call it spinner, and I'm going to say from slash dot slash lay not layout. Do I want it in layout? I'll do Pokemon and then do spinner dot gif. And then that should actually bring it in. And then down here, when the image is loading, we're actually going to show that spinner. And so I'm going to go into here and I'm going to say, I'm going to pass it an image. So I'm going to say image, and then I'm going to say source is equal to spinner, right? And then I want to set the style, and that's going to be equal to, the width is equal to 5em. Because I want to match the Pokemon image. That way it looks the same. And let's see, width. Oh, so I got to enter JavaScript mode and then also pass it an object. That's why I'm getting an error there. And then the height is 5em. And then I'm going to give it a class name. So class name is equal to card, image, top, and then rounded, because I wanted to make it basically be exactly what the image is, D block, and then MT-2. And block basically just sets that equal to the thing to block. And whoa, look at that. I saved, and did you guys see that? So when I first loaded that page, you can see there's a lot of like spinners. So let's scroll down some. Let's go really far. So you can see there's a lot of spinners right here. And then the idea is if there are too many requests, it'll automatically tell you that. So look at that. Look at that functionality we have already. Let's scroll back to the top. Look at that. So you can see there's a lot of functionality already. It's pulling in these in kind of progressively. You'd think that a lot of times people are actually coding like a spinner and they're like removing it in animations. No, it's really, I mean, for all we really needed, we just needed a GIF. We threw it in there, and then when it was, the Pokemon has been loaded, it's gone. But I kind of want to do a little bit of styling now. So I'll go ahead and take a break. Now that we got that pulled in and we kind of got all this nice formatting, I'm going to take a break and then come right back and show you guys how to do some styling to make this page look good. So let's start getting into adding a background to this. I want to start making it look nice and pretty, start adding some styling to these cards before we get into actually opening up the Pokemon themselves. So I'm going to close out of that and let's start working on some styling for these cards. So right here, I'm going to create a new card. Underneath the Pokemon card.js, I'm going to create a styled component for cards. So I'm going to say constant card equals styled dot, and this is going to be a div. So I'm going to do that, and then little tick marks, and then inside there, I'm actually going to actually want to set up like a box shadow for this. And it's going to be kind of long, so let's see if we can do this right the first time. So 1 pixel, 3 pixels, RGBA. So that's red, green, blue, alpha, 0, 0, 0, and then 0.012, or 0.12, sorry. And then we're going to put 0, 1 pixel, 2 pixel, RGB, and 0, 0, 0, 0.24. And that will actually add a little bit of box shadow to each one of these cards once we add it. So I'm going to change this card from that to, let's think, this actually would go onto the card itself. So right here, we'll change this to card and change this one to card. Boom. So now that should add a little bit of a box shadow to these cards. Okay, so over here on the right, you can see that now we have some box shadows on there. So let's go ahead and do the rest of this. So another thing that I want to work on is actually changing this from, we want to make this like transition. So what we're going to do is as the person hovers over the card with their mouse, we want it to actually like kind of lift up from the page to kind of add that user interactive, sweet little animation. But in order to do that, we want to set a transition. And so that way, all transitions will be set up as kind of a flowing thing instead of just you hover your mouse over it and it just snaps to the new styling. So you're going to say 0.3 seconds, cubic, Bezier, and then 0.25. And you guys can look all this up on online and stuff. It'll explain all this a little bit better than I can in this video. I'm trying not to make it super long, but I will make it as long as I need to get it done. And then in order to set up transitioning, you want to use the key flag ampersand, and then hover, and then inside there you're going to set the box shadow again. And we're going to put 0, 14 pixels. This is going to kind of expand it out a little bit more. 28 pixels. RGBA 0, 0, 0. 0.25, and then again with the 0, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, RGBA. I don't need this second. I don't need these commas. What am I talking about? And then RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.22. Like that. All right, awesome. So now I should be able to hover my mouse over these and you can see it lifts up from the page. Look at that nice little animation. Almost makes it look like I did a lot of work, doesn't it? But a little subtle animation to kind of bring these cards to life on the page. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to, I'm trying to think, I want to actually add a background to this page. So let's go ahead and add a background. How we're actually going to add the background is going to be kind of cool though. So I built a background. I'll show you what it looks like. Let me get it from our resources real quick. All right. So I've copied it into the resources, and you can see it. It looks like pattern right here. It looks like this. So it's basically it's a single image. It's very lightweight. It's only like 6 kilobytes, and if you repeat it over and over again, you get a nice background. And I made this using a utility. Let me see if I can find it again. Pattern Ninja. So it's proceed to Pattern Ninja already. Yeah. So I went to this website called Pattern Ninja. I cleared it all out. And after I logged in, so I'm going to log in here using my Google account. There we go. And you can see right here, I created it using this. So I placed these vectors in, which I do have, I do own these as far as like I purchased them through a website, and I am allowed to use them for commercial purposes. So you guys, I will provide this background to you on my GitHub. You guys can download this and use it for yourself. I will put that in a link in the description below, or wherever the description has moved on to now. But you can use this background as much as possible, and this will build it out for you. It's a really awesome website called Pattern Ninja. I like it a lot. So I've got this thing, and I kind of want to repeat it over and over again to kind of create a background. Let's go ahead and figure out where we want to put this at. It did take me a little bit because there are some weird things. I will let you know that this is very difficult to implement on iOS, at least the browser on iOS. So if you guys are looking to do that, I can help you at some point, but it is very difficult to do it on that. I need to open up I'm trying to think of where we want to put this at. Yes. So I actually want to add this as some CSS styling. So I'm going to go back to my app.css, and I'm going to add some styling in here. So I'm going to go into this .app where I'm going to grab the app, and I want to say background attachment is equal to fix. So we're going to fix the image, and then we're going to say background position, and we're going to say center, because we want to kind of center each image in its own pattern. And then we're going to say background repeat, and we're going to set it up on a repeat. So it'll repeat both up and down. And then we're going to say background color, and I'm going to set this as FA to kind of make it white. And so you can see now the background is kind of like a white static background. And then in order to add that image in, I do have it sitting right here, pattern.png. I'm going to go back to app.js, and I'm actually going to add it in there. So I'm going to go into the app right here, and I'm going to say style equals, and I'm going to set this equal to background. I don't need the quotes, background. And I'm going to set this equal to I'm going to put a tick mark URL, and then I'm going to say like this. And now I need to import the background image. So I'm going to say import background image equals from, and actually let's leave that there for now. I'm going to leave that there for now. I might move it later. I put it just in the root from back pattern. I'm trying to think. Is it just pattern? Yeah, pattern.png. And then I'm going to save that. And then right here, I'm going to put background image. Boom. It's saying it cannot resolve this. Let's think. So I put this in there. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I put it in here. I need to put it inside the source. So we're going to move it. There we go. So I put it inside source. Now look at this. So what it did was it actually, it's using this background, and it's setting it up to where I can kind of see it behind the content. Now you can see it's rendering terribly, and that's just because I have so many things running right now. You can see my graphics card is just peaking out at full processor speed, so I have to apologize for that. But at a certain point, I'll figure out how to optimize this. Let's see real quick if I can just limit it. We'll figure that out later. But you see now we have a nice looking background. and the cards all hover up when you go over them, right? So that's looking good. Now I do want to do something, and this is more of like a pet peeve. Actually, we'll skip over that for now. That's just more styling. So now you guys can see that we do have this, and I want to be able to click on these things. Oh, and you can see right there, I do want to be able to disable that. So I don't want people to be able to drag on this, or to click on this, or to click on this. I want it to all kind of just be like an app where it's not touchable. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Pokemon card, and we're going to go into here. And underneath this card, we're going to add some more styling. So we're going to say Moz user select equals our thing none. And we're going to say website user select none. And we're going to say user select none. These are all keywords used by different browsers. -O user select none. There we go. So now when we load this web page, these are no longer selectable. You can't drag them or anything. You can drag like the page itself because that's just something with Chrome, but you're not able to actually drag things out of the card. Oh, you can actually drag that because it is an image, but that's fine. Most people won't be able to grab these kind of things. So what we're going to work on next is we're going to start being able to click on this Pokemon and then go into a page where you can actually see that. But before we do that, we need to start working with something called React Router. Now, what is React Router? Well, this is essentially just kind of in the name itself, but it's essentially directing your users to different points of your website and being able to keep that page where it loads really fast. And it's saying, hey, we're going to set up a route, and if the user clicks on this, we're going to expose them to this point of the route. If they click on that, we're going to expose them to that point in the route. And it allows you to very easily manage the state of your application. So in this next segment, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. All right, guys. So we so far have gotten our Pokemon loaded in. Let me refresh this page, and I'll show you guys the awesome things. So we've got the Pokemon loading in. We've got the animation kind of styling here, the pictures loading in, the nice little loading bars. We got all that working now. So I'm super excited about that. The next thing that we want to start working on is actually being able to click on these Pokemon and then view that. But first, we need to set up React Router. So we're going to go back to our package.json, and we need to install some more things into our application. So let's go to the terminal, open up a new one here. I'm going to say npm install React Router DOM. There we go. Now, what is this going to do for us? This is going to allow us to manage the state. It's not global state. It's not that kind of idea if you've ever heard of that, but allow us to manage the direction of flow of our traffic in here. After we have that installed, I'm going to close package.json. I'm going to close these unnecessary things and then go into app.js. Now that I have that open, what we want to do is we actually want to start importing that. So I'm going to import the React Router. So I'm going to say import. I'm going to say hash router as router. Now, this is not a typical setup as you might use typically in like a regular React environment if you're using React Router DOM. Typically, you would use browser router, but because I'm hosting this on GitHub Pages, I'm going to be using React hash router because browser router throws some errors with it. And in order to get it to work right, we have to use hash router. So use at your own discretion of where you're going to host your application. So now that I have React Router DOM in there, the first thing I'm going to do is up here above the app is I'm actually going to return, I need to wrap it all in router. And so I'm going to grab that and grab that. And now we have it in router. After I've got it all wrapped in router, I need to wrap my routes into a switch. So inside the container, I'm actually going to put a switch in here. Like that. And after I've got the switch in, that's where we can set up our routes. So in here, I'm going to put a route, and I'm going to say exact path. And the main area is going to be the dashboard. So it's just going to be the slash of the website. And I'm going to say the component is equal to, component is equal to the dashboard. And then I'm going to do slash forward, like that. And then the other thing that we're going to do here, and we'll actually have to build this out here in a bit. So I'm going to say import Pokemon from /components/Pokemon/Pokemon. Now we haven't built that yet, but we will in a second. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the route made out now. Route exact path equals, and I'm gonna put /Pokemon/ and then the colon and then say Pokemon index. And then I'm gonna put component is equal to Pokemon. Like that. And then we kind of have our route set up. Now it's going to say here that it cannot find that, and that's fine because I'm going to go in here and create a new file called Pokemon.js. Once I've done that, you can see here at the / of the website, it does run that. And now let's start building our Pokemon component. And I'm super excited because this means that we're getting close to wrapping up this application, which means that you guys are going to be one step farther in your career of learning React. So this one's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, a little bit more intricacies. So I will be kind of going a little bit faster than I typically am accustomed to, but I hope you guys, I don't bore you guys and you guys can keep up. So we're going to create this, and we're actually going to go ahead and import Axios already from Axios. There we go. And then right here, off the bat, when you click on a Pokemon here, you want to actually go to /Pokemon/ and then that Pokemon's ID. So we're going to open up the Pokemon card, and then in the card, we're gonna start setting it up to where you can click on it and it'll go to that route. And so in here, we need to import link like this from React Router DOM, and link allows us to link things up. And then down here, inside the column, let's find it, right here. We're gonna wrap everything inside of a styled link. So the entire card, we're gonna wrap it inside of a link, like this, right? And then let's go down to the bottom where the card ends. I think it's gonna be this one, and we're gonna put that link in there. And then inside that link, we're gonna put a link essentially, and we're gonna say it goes to, and where does it go to? It goes to, I'm gonna use tick marks. Like this, Pokemon / and then use the string concatenation there, or interpolation, this.state.Pokemon index, because we do have the Pokemon index, which is ran at the mount, so you won't be able to click on it fast enough for it not to be able to get it in there. And then whenever you click on this card, it will go to that state. So you can see this, oh, it's having a problem. You must specify the to property. I am specifying the to property. Let's save and refresh. There we go. Now it's working. So now when you click on a Pokemon like this, you click on it, it goes to /Pokemon/1, and then you see nothing loads because we don't have that component built yet. But you can see right there, it turned all this into links, and I don't like that. I don't like how that looks, and so I want to fix that real quick. So we're going to go up here and create another styled component. So const styled link equals, and we're going to say styled, and we're going to convert our component into a styled component like that. And then put tick marks, link, and then we're going to say text description or text decoration is equal to none. And we're going to say color is black. And then we're going to say, I'm going to actually copy and paste this because it's quite a bit. There we go. So we're going to say focusing, hovering, visited link, and active. We're going to set the text decoration to none. And then I'm going to go into here, and sometimes your CSS doesn't reload, so I'm going to go in here. Oh, actually, I know why it's not working. We need to grab that styled link and replace our link with it. So link and link like that. So that should fix it all to make it look all pretty. Yep, now it looks like it did earlier. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on it like that. And you can see it does go to Pokemon/1. So now we need to start working on that Pokemon card. And in order to work on that Pokemon card, we do have the ID up here, but how do we get that? So I'm going to show you guys how to get that. It's super easy, super simple, and I'll show you that in the next segment. Okay, you guys ready to set up our Pokemon card? So what we're going to do is just like usual, we're going to set up our state, and then we're going to set up some information. I want to show you guys what kind of information that we get inside Postman right here. So I'm going to click on Pokemon 1, and click send. And you can see it does give us quite a bit of information. It gives us abilities. I'm going to minimize as we go through. Base experience, forms, game indices, height, ID, moves, name, order, species. Look at all this beautiful information that's available to us for free via the Poke API. And the weight, look at that. So we're going to start grabbing from this type of information. So I know right off the bat, we want to create a state on this component. So I'm going to go into here and type in state equals, and on the state, we know that we're going to have a name. So we're going to set that equal to null right there, right? And we know we're going to have a Pokemon index. And we're going to set that to null, or not null, but empty. And then we're going to have an image URL, which is going to be the same as before. Set that to empty. And we're going to have, let's think. Let's just do that for now. We're going to add a lot more, significant amount more. But we're going to do that for now. And then down here, I'm going to run the async version of component did mount. And then right here, I'm going to type in constant, and then we're going to get that Pokemon index. And we're going to get that from this.props.match.params. And that actually will go to the URL. And if you guys remember, inside of our app.js, we wrote Pokemon index. That'll grab the one that's called Pokemon index out of that params and put it into here. And again, I'm using that kind of grabber to grab it using the brackets. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the URLs for the Pokemon information. If you guys look at the Poke API right here, let's go to the Poke API documentation v2. There's a lot of information on Pokemon, and you guys can read through and see each one of these are and which they mean. And in order to get all of the information that we're going to need, we're actually going to need two URLs. We're going to need the regular Pokemon URL and the Pokemon species URL, and that's going to give us some more information. So I'm just going to set up both URLs here. So constant, we're going to do the Pokemon URL, and we're going to set that equal to https://pokeapi.co/api/v2/Pokemon/ and then right here we're going to actually put in our ID, so Pokemon index, like that, because we got it from above. After we've got that done, we'll put a slash after that and then cap it off. There's also another one. I'm going to close out of here for a second. There we go. That's the Pokemon species URL. And we're going to go ahead and set that now. https://pokeapi.co/api/v2/Pokemon/ and actually it's Pokemon-species. And then again with the Pokemon URL or index, Pokemon index. Look at that. And then end it off with a slash and cap it off. Boom. So now that we have those Pokemon URLs, I want to get the Pokemon information. So I'm going to say constant, and then I'm going to say get Pokemon information. And I'm going to say constant, and then Pokemon response. And this is going to give us the response from that. So I say await, and then I can say axios.get, and that's a get request Pokemon URL. And then I'm going to say constant name equals Pokemon response dot data dot name. And now how did I know how that was working? It says right here, Pokemon index is not defined. Pokemon index is right here. Oh, again, I spelled Pokemon wrong. How did I know to grab that? So inside here, it gives us back JSON. We get the data, and then I go dot name, and that gives us Bulbasaur right there. So now we have the name. So let's go ahead and test that that's working just to make sure we're not wasting our time. So I'm going to go into here, and down here in the div, I'm going to go ahead and let's think. Div, boom. I want to put an H1 and then put this.state.name. And then there's that, right? But there should be nothing there because our state has nothing in it. So if we want to set that state, I'm going to say this.set state, and we're going to pass it an object, and we're going to say name. Now, because name up here is the same as name down here, we don't need to actually do two of them, just like before. And let's see if that worked. This.set state equals name. I don't see the name anywhere. Why is that not working? Let's hide this. Is there a name anywhere? Let's see. Container. There's no container. Trying to find this error is pretty difficult. Let's see. Let's look at the URL. Pokemon. Well, I gotta spell Pokemon right. Let's see. So I seem to messed up the link here. So it's Pokemon or something. Pokemon. Pokemon. If I save that, and then we change it up here in the URL to Pokemon, that should fix it. Let's see. There we go. So now it's loading Bulbasaur, and there's my name. I'm going to erase my name out of there. So we are seeing that we are getting the name correct. So what I want to do now is I want to actually start... Empty cache, hard reload. There we go. I want to actually start getting this data in there. So let's start getting this data in there. So let's start ripping out some information. Now that we got the name ripped out, I want to actually erase this set state portion, and we're going to do that later near the end. I want to actually get that image URL. So I'm going to say, let the image URL constant image URL equal. I'm going to say Pokemon res, which is the response. And I'm going to say .data .sprites .front default. And how I got that is I went into here and I went into sprites and then .front default. And you can see if this has a underscore, you can just actually call it like this. If it doesn't, you have to call it using the brackets, but you can call it using the underscore like this. That should work. And then we're going to say let, and we want to grab the HP, the attack, the defense, the speed, the special attack, and the special defense out of this thing. We're going to set it equal to nothing right now. Up here inside of our state, we're going to start, let's go ahead and, in our state, let's just grab all of it. Let's just do everything. So we're going to eventually have the types. That's going to be an array. Like so. We're going to have the description. We're going to want to get the stat. Actually, we'll work on that in a second. We're going to get the stats. That's going to be equal to the HP, the attack, the defense, the speed, special attack, and the special defense. Look at all that. A lot of stuff to type. And then after that, we're going to want the height, weight, egg group, abilities. I typically use single quotes, but because Visual Studio Code can convert these to double quotes, or from double to single automatically for you, I just kind of power through, and then when I save it, it reformats on save. Gender ratio male. Gender ratio female. And then EVS. These are a lot of states or stats to go in here. Hatch steps. Like so. And then let's just go ahead and for now, I'll set, that's good for now. I think that's everything we're going to want. There's a couple other things we're going to add in there later, but not right now. We're getting an error here on types. Let's see why. Types is giving us an error. Unexpected token. Oh, I think it's because we put an equal sign instead of that. There we go. So now that should be working now. So we're going to get all this information. So in order to get the HP and all that, it's a pretty simple process. I'm going to be using a switch. So we're going to say Pokemon res. And we're going to say .data.stats dot map. And you can see over here, if we go underneath stats, it actually gives us an array. Oh, oh yeah. So it gives us this. It gives us this list, and inside that list we have different stats, right? So you have special attack, defense, all that kind of stuff. And we're just gonna grab the first one. Look at that. So special attack, HP. So we're gonna map them all, and we're gonna say this is an individual stat, and then in each stat, we're gonna do a switch, right? And a switch basically allows you to do it based on what? So we're going to do switch.stat. So we go switch, which is the item. So we're going to do stat.stat again, and then .name. .name, right? And then right here, we're going to do, if it's an HP like that, right? We're going to do HP equals stat, and then we're going to do underscore, stat, and then we're going to grab it out. So in order to grab this out, we're going to grab this stat from the map, and then we're going to grab the base stat. So I'm going to do this. So base stat, like that, right? And that's going to be the same all the way down. We actually also need to break it. And then that's going to be the same all the way down. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste that, and paste that, and paste that. And then for HP, we're going to do the same thing for attack, and then change this to attack. And then change this to defense. Defense, like that. And then you're going to have speed. We have speed, and then we have special attack, and then special offense. Now, special attack, you can see if we go over here into Postman, you can see special attack is like a dash. So right here, we're going to do special attack like that, and then but down here we're going to do special attack like that, because a key cannot have a dash in it like that. And again right here we're going to do special defense, and then down here do special defense like that. Now that should fill in all of those, right? HP attack, yeah, so that should fill in all of these. Attack is declared but never read. Oh, that's fine. We're not going to read from it. Where is it reading from special defense, though? I don't think it is. I think Visual Studio Code needs to get some medicine or something. So what we're going to do here, now that we've got all that data out, we're going to start working on the height. So let's go ahead and pull out the height. So we're going to say const. Oh, and you can see right here, the reason why I left these as let is because I wanted to change them. I wasn't assigning them on creation. Down here, I'm going to say const height, and I'm going to say equals. And actually, I'll put a little comment above this because this is something inside of the Poke API that you can read, but they actually give you all of the height numbers in decimeters. And so in order to convert from decimeters to feet, so you need to convert decimeters to feet. And then I also want to round this out, and I had a hard time rounding. So I'm going to put a little note in here. So I'm going to, inside the rounding thing, we're going to put the plus 0.001 times 100, and then divided by 100 is for rounding to 2 decimal places. For some reason, I had a difficulty figuring that out. I Googled it on Stack Overflow. So you do math.round, and then we want to round the Pokemon res.data.height. And we're going to times that in order to get that to feet. So times that by 328084. And then we're going to add 0.0001. And then times that by 100. And then divide all of that by 100. And that will give us the number rounded to 2 decimal places. And we're going to do the same thing for weight. Except it's not in decimeters. It's in, let's see. Weight. So weight is in hectograms. So we're going to need to convert that from hectograms to pounds because this is in America. If you guys want to convert to whatever unit you want, that is fine by me. You guys will just have to figure out the conversion. So math.round. And actually, I'm just going to copy and paste all this because why type it all twice? We're going to do weight, HT. And then the conversion is actually 0.220462. And so that will convert it to pounds. So I'm going to write that. Converts to pounds. All right. Next thing I want to get is the, I want to actually get the types. So I'm going to say constant types equals, and I'm going to say Pokemon res dot data dot types and dot map. And then I'm going to do type, and then we're going to need, so basically if you go into Postman, you go into here and go to types, you can see it gives you a list, and then inside that list I need to grab things. So for every one of these I want to grab the type.type.name. So I go into the type object over here that I created, and then the type, and then the name. So that gives us the name right there. So that'll give us all the types. The next thing we want to grab out is the, and I'm going to call this theme color. So the theme color is going to be kind of like the color of it, and I'll show you guys that in a second, but I'll show you guys why I'm doing that. But let's skip over that real quick. We'll come back to the theme color. We're going to do constant abilities. And this is where we're actually going to get the abilities. So we're going to say Pokemon res dot data dot abilities. And again, we're going to have to map over them because they can't make anything easy. Like that. And then I'm going to do return ability. And then, but we're going to return the ability where the ability. So you can see here, I can say abilities. Dot ability. Dot name. So we're going to grab the name. But then again, I'm going to do the whole crazy thing where I go to lowercase. And then dot split. And I'm actually going to split it by the a dash, because sometimes these abilities have dashes in between them. And then dot map, and then I'm going to map it out for each string or substring dot char at zero dot to upper case. And then we're going to add the s.substring from 1. And then we're going to do dot join by a space. Okay. So we're getting a little bit of error here. So it says type is not defined. So we have, oh, right here, type. That's why I was getting errors. All right, so that should work for that. So that will give us all the abilities that are give that nice camel case capitalization thing, right? Then what we want to get is we want to get the EVs. So const EVS equals Pokemon res dot data dot stats. Is this going to give us? Yeah. So we're going to stats right here, and then this gives us the EVs. Oh, that's not what we want, right? EVs. Oh yeah, effort. So we want to do if the effort is greater than 0. So every one of these, there's only be some of them with EV. So we'll do that stats, and then we'll do filter. Now filter instead of is different than map. Stat. This will only pass back the ones that we declare, which is really cool. So we're going to say if the stat.effort is greater than 0, then we're going to return true. So it's going to give us that one back. If not, we're going to return false. There we go. So all we're saying is go through each one of these stats. If the effort is greater than 0, then give us that stat. If not, then don't worry about it. Don't come back with it. And then I'll give us the EVS. After that, after we actually go through that, we want to start making them where they're fixed. So we're going to map over each stat that we find, and we're going to do the return, and then I'll show you guys what we are doing, stat.effort, and then we're going to grab let's do stat.name because we want to get that name. And then I'm just going to go back up here and copy all this because I don't want to type it all in again. I need to move this tick mark out of there and put it here. There we go. So that will give us, and I'll show you guys all this inside the console here in a second of what all this might look like in the end. And then I'm actually going to join each one of these .join on the map with a because it's going to give us multiple, right? Like that with a comma. All right, I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. You'll see why I'm doing that. Now that we have all that information, let's go ahead and get the rest of the information. So in order to get the Pokemon description, it's a kind of a different endpoint. It's kind of annoying, and that's why I said you need the species URL. So we're gonna get the get Pokemon description, right? And this is also gonna give us things like the catch rate, the egg groups, the female rate, like the gender, basically the gender ratio, and I know the hatch steps are going to be in here. I think it's hatch steps, and I think that will be it out of here. So to get this, what we're going to do is we're going to say the same as before. We're going to say await axios.get, and then we're going to say Pokemon species URL this time, and then we're going to say instead of actually grabbing that or saving that as a response, we're going to use it this other type of syntax I want to show you guys. So .then, and we're going to put the response in there. And now we can start working with it. So we're going to say let description is equal to an empty string. And then once I have that description, we're going to say res.data.flavor. And actually, I'll show you guys what this looks like over here. So I'm going to go to, let's see, Pokemon species. So you can see right here, there's the res.data, which gives us all this, and then we have flavor text entries. So text entries, and we're going to say sum. So sum is just like map or filter, but it's just going to give us the one that we want, right? So as soon as we say return, it just stops giving us stuff. And you can see some of these are in Chinese, some of these are in French and Spanish, and we just want whatever one first that hits us with English. So we're going to say an individual flavor. And inside there, we're going to say if the flavor is .language.name is equal to EN, which stands for English. We're actually going to say the description is equal to flavor .flavor text, like that. Oh, not favor text, flavor text. And then I'm just going to return because that's the only one I want, and I'm just going to back out at that point. And that should give us the description. After that, the next thing, let me zoom this up or pull this up. And I can actually close out of that for now because I don't need that open. The next thing we're going to want, and should I make this a little bit bigger? Does it need to be bigger? It's a little bit easier for you guys. We're actually going to want the female or the gender ratio. And I'm going to go to the URL of the website so I can show you guys what this means. Oh, we're getting an error here. Let's see. Cannot read property of some. Flavor text entries. Res.data.flavor text entries. If I spelled entries right. The inability to spell will kill me one day. You can see here if I type in female, you can see down here it says inside this Pokemon thing, it says it gives you the chance of a Pokemon being female in 8s, and then it gives you a -1 if there is no gender. So I think there's a couple Pokemon that doesn't have a gender, but it's going to give you the chance of a female in 8s. And so I'll show you what that kind of looks like. So for instance, let's pull up on this real quick. Boom, right there, gender rate. So it says gender rate is 1. So for Bulbasaur, 1 is an 8. So if you want to figure out how to do this, let's open up a calculator to show you. So if you have 100% chance and you want to divide that into 8, you have a 12.5% chance for each integer. So if you're given a 1, that means you have a 12.5% chance. So what we're going to do here is underneath the Pokemon species URL, or this data right here, we're going to say that the const female ratio, or female rate, right, is equal to res.data, and then we're going to say gender rate, and that will give us that initial number. But then in order to get the ratio, so the const female ratio, or actually gender ratio female, we're going to do 12.5 times the female rate. Now, I haven't taken into account if there's no genders. We can do that at some point, but I'm just going to get some information for you guys. And we're going to say constant gender ratio male, and you think it'd just be the opposite, which it is. So you do 12.5 times, and then you do 8 minus female rate. Because it's an 8, you only have 8 to go from. So it's going to be 8 minus the female rate times that by 12.5. And then taking this number and this number will equal 100, right? Now, that means now that we have that gender ratio done, we need to get the catch rate. So const catch rate is equal to math.round. And we're going to do 100 divided by 255. And I'll show you guys why we're doing that in a second. Res.data. And then we're going to grab the capture rate. And the reason why we're doing that, and again, this is all just documentation. We go to catch rate. It says the base capture rate up to 255. The higher the number, the easier to catch. So I want to just basically bring this to 0 to 100. Makes it a little bit easier for you to see. So to do that, I just divide it by 255 and then times it by the rate. And that will give us it on a percentage scale of like 50% or 30% or 40%, right? Or 43.5%. That'll give us the catch rate. And the next thing I want to get is the egg groups. So we're going to do this, and then we go res.data, and then egg groups. And then we're going to map over each egg group. I'll go back to Postman so you guys can see. Sorry, that's my recording software. Let's go back to Postman real quick. So we have in here egg groups right here. So we're going to map over each one. And we're going to grab each group like that. And we're going to say return the group dot name. And then we're going to do all the mumbo jumbo where you make it capitalized and join them and all that. So we're going to do this right there. I'm pasting it in really fast, but got to erase this part and this part. Dot join. And we're going to make sure each one is separated with a... Am I getting an error? I assume I'm getting an error. Yeah, I'm getting an error. There's 2 dots. There we go. All right. So you can see here I'm grabbing each name. And then after I grab each name, I'm just joining it into a list of long names separated by a comma. So that will give us the egg groups. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. The next thing that we're going to work on is the hatch steps. So we're going to say const hatch steps equals 255 times res.data, and then we're going to be called hatch hatch counter, and then we're going to do +1. And you can see here the reason why. Again, inside here we're going to do steps. Initial hatch counter, one must walk 255 times the hatch counter +1 before this Pokemon hatches, unless utilizing bonuses like Flame Body. So you can see I just did the exact math that they told me to do. It's not, see, the problem is people think programming's super difficult or super complicated. You're really just reading documentation on how they're expressing the data towards you and then representing that to the user. So just take your time and read that documentation and you're going to be perfectly fine. It doesn't take a rocket science. I am by no means a rocket scientist. After I've got all that, I'm now ready to set the state on that. So I'm going to say this dot set state. And after I've set the state, I'm going to actually pass it the description, the gender ratio female, the gender ratio male, the catch rate, the egg groups. Is it egg groups? I think it's egg groups. Yep. And the hatch steps. So let's go into React and see if that actually updated it. So if I go into React here and I go to the switch, and then the route, and then the Pokemon. Let's go ahead and expand up this right here. Can I make this any bigger? Yeah. All right. So you can see right here, it did get the catch rate. It did get the description. It did get the egg groups. It put them in a common delimited list. The gender ratio, 12.5% for females, 87.5% for males. It got the hatch steps. And you can see it does have the types down here. There is a 0. Or I'm sorry, it doesn't have the types. It doesn't have the stats yet because we haven't actually set the state for those. So let's go ahead and set the state on those real quick. So we say this.set state. And this is all the stuff that we did earlier where we captured it or we grabbed it, right? So we're gonna have in here the image URL, the Pokemon index, the name, the types, stats, and again we can just like this. And we have the HP, the attack, defense. Oh. Let's pull this up so you guys can see it. The defense, the speed, special attack, and special defense. Boom. Look at that. We're getting it all done. Then down here, we're going to do the height, the weight, and we need to put a comma up here before we get that error. The weight and the abilities. A lot of stuff we're getting here, aren't we? And the EVS. Boom. So let's look at this component again. So I'm going to go to app, hash router. We're going to go inside the switch. We're going to grab that route and click on that Pokemon. And let's go ahead and view the state over here. So you can see now we have the weight. We have the types, poison and grass. We have stats, right? We have the state. Why is that called state? Oh, I didn't mean to call it state. I meant to call it stats. My bad. You don't want to call it state inside state. It can get a little confusing. All right. We have the stats right there. So attack, defense, HP, special attack, special defense, and speed. You can see here we have the image URL, Bulbasaur, Pokemon index. We have a lot of the information that we're going to need, right? And we have the abilities up here, chlorophyll and overgrow. So we have all the information. So let's start getting it onto our page. I'm going to cut, and as soon as I get back, we're going to wrap up this video and wrap up this application. I'm super excited, guys. All right, everybody, coming into the home stretch of our first React application on this channel. I want to show you guys how to get this nice, beautiful card up here. Try to get this Pokemon information out there. So for right now, we just have the name, but let's start making it a little bit cooler. Am I right, guys? For the first thing we want to do is I want to actually bring in our card. And so again, we're going to use a card this time. So let's bring in, and let's do it like this. So I'm going to erase all of this div, and I want to actually say we're going to have a column. Dot column. That didn't work. Oh, wait. Div, and then class name equals column. There we go. All right. And then inside there, we're going to have a card. And then inside that card, we're going to have a card header. And then inside that card header, let's actually add a row. And then let's add a column -5. And then let's put the Pokemon name in there. So we're going to have an H5. And inside the H5, we're going to have this.state.Pokemon index. Like that. All right. So right up there, we have the Pokemon index right up top. And now that we have that Pokemon index, let's go ahead and do the next portion. So the reason why I did the Pokemon index right there is because at the end, at the left side, I want the Pokemon index, but on the right side, I want to put its types, like poison, grass, stuff like that. And so what we're going to do here is right below this column, we're going to create another one. We're going to do, but it's going to need to fill up 7, right? Because 12 minus 5 equals 7, and we have to fill the row. And so right there, we're going to do another div. And we're going to call it, we're going to do an H4. Is it H4? I'm thinking, no, let's just do a float right. Because we want to bring them all to the right? Or correct. And then we're going to say if this, inside there, we're going to say this.state.types. Actually, let's just, for right now, let's just put this.state types.map, because there could be multiple types, right? So we're going to map through them all. And we're going to say if the type for each type, we're going to return something. Yeah, like that. That's fine. And for each type, we're going to return something. And do we have an extra div here? I think no, we don't. We're good. For each type, we're going to return a span. And inside the span, we're going to give it a key, and the key is going to be equal to the type, because the type is just a name. That's fine. And then we're going to give it a class name. It equals badge. And then I want to actually make them rounded, so we're going to do badge pill. This is all Bootstrap. And then we're going to do margin right equals 1, so they're not stuck right next to each other. And then after that, I think we're good with that. And then inside there, we're going to do the type like this. Boom. And let's see what broke. I know it would break somehow, right? This.state. Oh, I put a double one of these. Boom. This.state. I think that we need to do this maybe. Boom. Yeah, I forgot one of the like these, right? Now you can see right here, we're getting, why is there no, oh, I see why. So we have badge and then badge pill, but if we go into Bootstrap badges, and then we click on the link, you can see that there's no color. So if we do like badge primary, right? It should have a color now behind it. See, look at that, blue and blue. And I don't really like that, because in the actual Pokemon world, the actual types have colors associated with them. So what I'm going to do is, and you guys can kind of go to what I did was I did this. Watch. So I went to Google, typed in Pokemon types, and I went to images, and I went over here and I just kind of clicked on the first image here, and I thought this looks like all the types, and I kind of looked around and I said these are all the types. So then I got the hex code from each one of these, and I used this extension here. I can't remember the name of it, Colorzilla, and I clicked on it. And when you click on it, you can hover over the web page. See, pick color from page, hover over a color, and then when you click, it copies that color's hex code to your clipboard, and then you're actually able to paste that in. And I did all of them, and I created an object. I'm going to put this outside of my object, and it's called type colors. And this is all the hex codes, right? So then I'm going to go back down, and there's a lot of stuff to work with here. So let's minimize some of the stuff we don't need. So I'm going to minimize this. We don't need to open up the state. We don't need that open. We're just kind of in this render area. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of this of the type based upon what the type is, right? Before I do that, I do want to fix basically make these capitalized so they're not all lowercase, right? What we've done the entire time. So let's copy this. We've done this a bunch of times before, and bada bing, bada boom, that's fixed. But in order to change the color, we're going to need to change the style. So right here, we're going to say the style is equal to, and we're going to give it an object, and we're going to say background color is equal to, and then we're going to give it the ticks, and we're going to give it a hashtag, and then the $sign. And the hashtag is for, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the colon. The hashtag is for hex codes. They have to have or hex colors, they have the hashtag. And we're going to say type colors, because that's our dictionary at the top, and we're going to pass it the type, and that should match up with we're handing it. And then we're going to say that the color of the text is going to be white. So we're going to do right here, color is white, and that will change to the color of the text. And that's going to break because white should be in quotes. Boom. All right. And look at that, guys. We have the poison and the grass, and it's the correct color. Isn't that amazing? And it should work for any Pokemon that we give it to, which is going to be awesome. I think it looks great. Just a lot better than just a normal application. And this right here, this little details that you take and you take time and put into your application is going to set you on top of the competition, because everyone else might not have even put these in pills, or they might have just showed it in text. But we took the time to actually decide what color these should be, and kind of add that little bit of customization and flavor to our application. So now that we have all of that done, we want to add our card body. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to minimize this row. So let's minimize this row here. Right? And now that we have that row minimized, let's start working on the card body. So we're going to go right below here, inside the card, and we're going to add the card body. Now that we have that card body added, we're going to need some rows in there. So we're going to add a row. And I actually want to align G items center, because we want to align all of our data, or align everything center within that row. And then the first thing we want to do is we want to add a column. Oop, I didn't mean to save that. A column, medium 3, and then boom. So now we have that started, and the first thing I want to add is an image of the Pokemon. So let's add the image. We're going to set the source equal to this.state.image URL. And I'm not actually going to worry about a loading bar or anything, because we're only loading one image, so it should load pretty fast. And if not, everything else should load pretty quick, and we wouldn't have to worry about that. Class name equals card image top, and then we're going to do rounded, and then MX auto, and then I want to make the margin top equals 2, so that way it's not just stuck up against the edge. So look at that. Now, how is this actually downloading it? If you give an image tag a URL, it's going to download that image for you automatically. So look at that. We have our beautiful image in there. And then over on the right over here, I want to actually add some stats, or some statistics. So what we're going to do here is the first thing we're going to add is the name. And so we're going to go to this right below this column, and we're going to add another column, and we're going to call it column medium 9. Now, why am I using column and medium? Why am I using medium? Medium means that if it's medium or larger, it's going to use these rules. If not, it's going to default to 12. And so when you're on a phone or something, it's going to automatically put everything, instead of trying to squish it all on the one row, it's going to adjust it and move it down, which is the power of Bootstrap. So now that we have that 9 in there, I'm going to add the name. And so the name is going to be an H4, and I want to set the class name on that to MX Auto, because I want that to adjust easily for us, right? And then we're going to do this .state.name and then I'm just going to paste in our .to lowercase thing. I just kind of keep that handy, right? To lowercase substring join. We're getting an error here because I'm missing this. There we go. So now we have our name here, so it looks nice and beautiful. Next thing we're going to add is the, I'm trying to think what we want to add here. Okay, yeah, I know what we want to add. So we're going to add, we have the H4. I apologize, give me just a second. All right, so we're going to add a new div. So we're going to say the class name, we're going to add a new row. And on that row, we're going to say align items center. All right, if I can type. Align items center. And then on that, I want to do another one. So column 12, and then column medium. And then I actually want to do this. And I want to set it up to where we can, I think that's good. Let's see, width bar, stat title 3. Let's do 3. I think 3 will be good for us. Let me see. I'm trying to think. Yeah, 3. Let's do 3. So 3. HP progress bar. So this is going to be like, what we want to do is we kind of want to show the HP or the progress right there. So, and then we're going to add in here, we're going to say HP. So we're just going to say HP like that. And so now you can see right here, it just says HP. And then onto the right of it, we want to add the progress bar. And so we're going to say div, and we're going to need a class name. So class name, or column 12, column, medium, and then I'm going to do 9, 10, 11, 12, so 9. Yeah, that'll work. Column, medium, 9. Boom. And inside of there, I'm going to create, there's a Bootstrap class called progress, like that. And then inside of that, where they have another one called progress bar. And so now we have a progress bar. And there's a little bit more information we need to go inside of here. So we're going to say the role is progress bar. And then this, the style. The style equals to the we gotta set the width. So we gotta say the width is equal to there's a $, and then we gotta say this dot state dot stats dot HP, because this is the HP stats, and then we gotta give it a percentage. And because the stats is 0 to a number, like, you know, like let's say it's 65, it's going to be a percentage. And then we have to set what that max percentage is, right? So below that, we need to set the area, ARIA value now equal to, and I'll just set it equal to 25, that's fine. And then area value min is equal to 0, but then the area value max is equal to 100. So that way we know that you can see here that it's only going to go up to 50%. And then to add a little bit of texture to this, what we're going to do is we're not done with this yet. We're actually going to go in here and put a small. And inside that small, we're going to say this dot state or stats or state dot stats dot HP. And that should add a little bit of flavor to it, and it puts the number inside that progress bar. So look at that. We now have our progress bar in there. And instead of typing all this over and over again, I'm actually just going to grab this entire block. Let's see. I want to go from this one, I think. Yeah. And I'm going to copy it over again. So let's do this, and that should give us another one. And since I know that we have 6 of them to do, I'm going to hit enter again. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we have 6 of them in here. So we got a lot more code. So I'm going to go down here, and so the first one, let's minimize these as we go along so I don't have to get super confused. So we have the card header done. We have this row right here done. Let's see. No, we have this one right here done. And we have the name done, and we have this one done. So we have that first one, which is HP, and then the next one we're going to add is attack. So we have attack there, attack there, attack there. So now we have the attack, which is 49. So the attack one's done. Sweet. Look at that. We're almost there. And then we have the defense. Defense and defense. Boom. Now we have the defense. So I'm going to go through here and just keep adding all of these, and I'll try to speed through here so that way you guys don't have to sit here and type all this, or watch me type all this. All right, so I went ahead and sped it through, but essentially I just went through and typed, I just filled in all these out. And at that point, I think we're good with all the stats right there. So I think those are all done. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure those are all collapsed so they aren't in the way. So we have all the stats in there, right? So now we're done with that. We're going to go right below that column. I'm gonna minimize this. Boom and boom. We're going to go right below that column, and we're going to do our next thing. So we want to add the description. So I'm going to create another row here. So row, and I want to make sure the margin isn't touching the stats right there. So we're going to do margin top, and I'm going to create a column. And in that column, I'm going to put a p tag, and I'm going to set the I'm just going to close it off and then put this.state.description like that, and save. All right. So you can see now that we have the description in here, and I could center this. I don't think that I should, because this could fill in a lot. But what I can do is I can actually add a class name, and I could do margin left equal to 2, or margin left 2 and margin right 2. That way it kind of pushes it in a little bit. And actually, I don't think I should do margin. I should do padding. So let's do padding. Let's just do padding 2 all the way around. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the CSS, see if that fixes it. Empty cache and hard read load. Boom. All right. So that should help push it around a little bit. Next thing we're going to do now that we have the description is right below that. This row, I want to actually add an HR. An HR is a tag in Bootstrap that allows you to add a kind of a line across. Am I putting that in the right spot? Card body. I think I'm putting it inside the card body. I need to put it outside. Yeah, there we go. I need to put it outside the card body. So, no, that keeps it from going. I think it needs to go one more down. There we go, yeah. So that's what I wanted. So I want a card body here, and then I want to put a line and then another card body, because I'm going to put down some profile information, and I want to make sure that that looks good down there. So down here, I'm going to put in another card body. And inside that card body, we're going to have a card title. And we're also going to make sure that text is centered, because we want to make sure that text is centered. And the card title is just going to say profile. So you can see right there now that we have profile. And I don't really like the way that that looks. So what can I do to change that? Let's put that in H5. H5. Header 5. Boom. And yeah, that looks much better. So now that we have that down, let's go ahead and add a row. So we're going to say we're going to say dot row. And then inside that row, we're going to say column dot medium dot 6, because I only want it to be half and half. Boom. And inside there, I want it to, let's say, yeah, we'll do this. So we're going to put in H6, and I'm going to say class name, float, right. And I'm going to say height. And actually, let's put that with a little thing right here. Boom. All right, so that kind of looks weird right now, but bear with me. I'll show you guys what I'm doing here in a second. And actually, let's add another. Is it another column? Yeah, this is gonna look kind of weird, but I'll show you guys. And then let's do column 6. Boom. I'm gonna put this inside of that. Boom. All right, so that puts the height right here on the left-hand side. But then next to the height, I actually want to put the height, right? And so what I'm going to do here is inside this row, I'm going to do another column, medium 6. And right next to that, I'm going to put another H6 tag, or inside that, I'm going to put another H6 tag. So H6, that, did I just type in H6 dot something? Yeah, I do that. Okay, so H6 dot float left. Now I want to float that left so that way it's next to the word height. And then I want to say this dot state dot height. And then I'm going to put next to that feet, period. And you can see right here, look at that, boom, we have height is 2.3 feet. And guys, that's really all it takes right there. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. It's going to take me a little bit. So I'll try to speed through, or kind of speed this up a little bit, just so you're not sitting there watching me type for like 30 minutes. But after that, I think we'll have most of it done. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so I have everything planted down. Sorry if that took forever. I have everything down, but you can see there we do have an issue here. It's the EVS, so I'm going to go ahead and go back up to the top and see where we went wrong. So this is great. I actually like finding little problems, right? So let's see. Let's go into here, into our component did mount, and let's look for our EVS. So we're getting our EVS right. EVS, let's see. EVS right here. So we're getting an issue right here. So let's go ahead and see where we're getting this issue at and why we're getting the issue. So let's step through it. So we got the Pokemon response.data.stats.filter. We're grabbing stat. And if that stat effort is above 0, we're going to say it's return true. If not, return false. It's fine. Then we're going to map each stat and we're going to return the, oh, right here, stat.effort right there. Misspelled effort. And look at that, it's fixed. But we have one more issue. We can split it by a tag or by a dash, but we still have this where we're still getting a lowercase s on special attack. So I'm wondering why. To uppercase. So it is uppercasing the attack, but why isn't it uppercasing the first one? Stat.name, we're joining it. Char s.char at to uppercase plus s.substring. I'm wondering why it's not grabbing that first word. I'm so confused right now. Oh, I see why. It's because I'm dumb. So this should not be inside here. This should be inside here. Like that. All right. So I was doing it across the entire string and not just the special attack. So look at that. So now we have all these stats, and I do like to do a little bit of a throw out, or I do like to throw some respect to this website, pokeapi.co. So at the bottom of my card, I actually like to do a little thing for them. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, right here. Let's put it right here. So we're gonna put a card footer, and we're gonna say text. Footer.text muted, and inside there I'm going to say data from, and I'm going to put a space, and then I'm going to put a link href. I'm going to say https://pokeapi.co/ and then I'm going to put the target acquired, right? Underscore blank. That makes sure that it will open up in a new tab so we don't take them away from our website. Class name equals card link. And I think that's what we want. And then I want to put pokeapi.co. All right, so that should add a footer to the bottom of our thing. It is inside of it, so let's move it out real quick. Go down one. There we go. It is inside of it. All right, there we go. So you can see right here, there's this data from pokeapi.co. If you click on it, it takes you to the PokeAPI website. So look at that. Now to make sure that you guys don't think that it's pulling it from just one, or let's click on a different Pokemon. Let's click on Pidgey. So we'll click on that, and you can see right off the bat, it did get a Pidgey. Its HP is 40, attack is 45. It's got the gender ratio, which is 50-50. Catch rate is 100%. Its abilities are Big, Pex, Tangled, Feet, Can I. That's kind of weird. Let's go back. Let's make sure this works. We should get too many requests, but you can still click on them. So if we click on Jigglypuff, or I clicked on Nidocoin. Did I click on Nidocoin? Pretty sure I clicked on Jigglypuff. Let's click on Jigglypuff. Right here. Jigglypuff. Boom. You can see that it's HP, it has attack, it has profile. When its huge eyes light up, it sings mysteriously soothing melody that lulls its enemies to sleep. Now, if there's like spelling mistakes, that's from the API, so you can always go to their GitHub and post a request to change that. But look at that, guys. We successfully have built an entire application using React. We used an API calls. We used custom libraries such as Bootstrap, custom JavaScript engine or libraries such as styled components or Axios. I'm so proud of you guys. If you guys want to check this out on GitHub, it is on my GitHub. You guys can also go to my website. I'll post a link to it on my blog, but it's chrisstayte.com/react. Reactdex. And when you load that up, you can see that it does load up the website. And when you click on a Pokemon, it will load in the information just like that. So check it out on my website, chrisstayte.com/reactdex. I'll have a link on my blog. Please check out this video on, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you guys like this video. Tell me if you like the super long one or if you want them cut into shorter segments. Write a comment down below if any of you guys get stuck. I am more than willing to help you guys get along or to figure it out. Again, all of this code will be hosted on my GitHub. I will post a link to that in the description below, along with a bunch of other information. Check me out on Instagram, check out my photography, and I will catch you guys on the next video. See ya.